Hello guys and pals and dear fans of horror games. I'm Horror Max with the final session or final part of how to make a horror game. Let's go. Before we continue, I'm gonna tell you as always the titles of this session. I'm gonna talk about items, shopping in the game, customizing weapons, and some other general tips about all of this. I'm gonna talk about the story-based and dialogue-based games like Little Hope, that is a product of Dark Pictures Anthology. And then finally I'm gonna talk about the open world and closed world maps. Let's go. Okay guys, actually in this session I don't think that I need to proceed the game to show you something special. I'm just gonna talk about the tips that I told you, and yes, that's it. So let's start. Now we're gonna talk about items. The items usually include the health and ammunition, and they are in three kinds in the game. They are compulsory, important and necessary, or optional. Compulsory. For proceeding the game, you must earn the compulsory items. For example, as you could see, we needed to put something round and circular on the door of the church to enter the church, and without that we couldn't proceed the game anymore. So they are compulsory items. Important and necessary. For proceeding the game, the important and necessary items, as their name, they are necessary and they are needed very much. For example, like ammunition and health. Of course, if you are so professional, you can continue the game in most of the parts, but in some parts you may not be able to continue. So they are important and necessary. Or optional items. Optional items, player can pick them up or not pick them up, like the trophies in the game. They are optional as their names. The place of these items should be appropriate, of course, and they need there should be a balance between these items. For example, if you put a lot of ammunition and health pack in the game, so it won't be a challenge for the player, and player will waste their ammo and health packs. So consider it. Now I am gonna talk to you about the shops in the game. The shops. There can be shops or there cannot be shops in a game, but if there is a shop in a game, it's really better. It's really better. The shops are in two kinds, offline and online. And you know the difference between online and offline. So I don't think it's necessary to explain for you, or you may have forgot, so I remind you, online shops are those shops that need internet, and offline they don't need internet for the shop, and they are inside the game. And always try to use important and useful items in your shop, for example ammunition and health pack. As I said, okay, and now we're gonna go to customizing weapons. Customizing weapons in shop. Now I'm gonna talk to you about the customizing weapons. Customizing weapons, as I said before, there must be a variety of weapons in the game, so you can use a variety of weapons in your game. And what about customizing? Let me tell you first about customizing, and then I will tell you some tip about the variety of weapons. Customizing weapons in the game is in two kinds: primary and simple, or developed, or you can say high level too. primary and simple. You use some obvious and use some special items and parts in the game and combine them with your weapon to make new features for your weapon. Exactly like Resident Evil 2 Remake or Resident Evil 3 Remake. As you can see, as you go more and more ahead in the game, you will find some parts of the weapon and combine them with your weapon to make new features for your weapon. This is primary and simple. What about the high level and developed way of customizing weapons? You use the special item of customizing weapons in the game. You collect the special items of customizing weapons in the game to be able to customize your weapon. Exactly like Evil Within 2, that you use gears, you collect gears to be able to customize your weapons. That's it. And of course, making weapons stronger, their firepower and their performance, improving their firepower and performance is another one of popular things about customizing weapons in the games. And now I'm gonna talk to you about some general tips about all of this. Try to give player this ability to sell some items to earn some points in a game, and then with those points buy things that the player needs. For example, now in Resident Evil, as you can see, well, I've sold them all. As you can see, there are treasures in the game. I can collect them, I can sell treasures and earn points, and then buy the things that I need with those points. So try to give the player this ability. All of these that I told you are about the user are known as UI or user interface, and that is so obvious and bright that user interface should be simple and easy to use, or at least if it's not simple, if you have not designed it in a simple mode, at least try to make it in a way that it should be easy to use. If it's complicated, or at least it should be easy to use. So consider it. And about the weapons, I told you that there must be a variety of weapons in a game, right? So there are two ways for this tip, for this work. You need to, the player should earn the variety of weapons, should earn different weapons along with the game or in the shop of the game. For example, in Resident Evil 2 Remake or Resident Evil 3 Remake, as you go more and more ahead, you can earn weapons along with the game in different places, and as you go more and more ahead, you will earn new weapons. Or like Resident Evil 4. Now, for example, look, as I go more and more ahead, let me show you. You all have seen, but for those who haven't seen,
got some rare. What are you buying?
As you go more and more ahead, new weapons will be added to the shop, so you can buy them from the shop. You can earn new weapons from the shop with points that you earn in the game. So consider it too.
Back anytime.
And now I'm gonna talk to you about the story-based or dialogue-based games like Little Hope, as I said. The items in such those games usually include the readable notes or the things that are related to the story or characters of the game. For example, like reading a piece of paper that will make the player understand some aspects or some parts of the story or characters of the game. Usually there's no shop in such those games. Usually there's no shops in such those games, and if there is, the shop will be related to the story and characters of the game. For example, you can give 3 points to the shop and you will see some secrets of the characters or secrets of the story of the game. That's it. And finally, I don't want to take it so long because this is more about tips. Finally, I'm gonna talk to you about the open world and closed world maps. Open world maps. Open world. You can go to anywhere of the map and search the different areas of the map, and you can delay the proceeding of the main story of the game. I mean that you can go to different areas of the map, proceed some secondary and optional stories, and then go back and proceed the main story of the game. And the open world maps, they have very more levels and places than the closed world maps, and exactly opposite to the closed world maps. As I told you, the proceeding of the main story of the game is not linear. For example, in closed world maps, you just have to go more and more ahead. You cannot go to anywhere of the map. You just need to go more and more ahead. But in open world maps, you can go to optional stories and then get back to the main story of the game. That's all about it. Alright guys, these were all tips about this session. I know maybe you say, for example, you haven't mentioned such this tip or such that tip. I want to tell you that some tips are so obvious, so that's why I didn't tell you them. For example, we all know that the time of the gameplay should be appropriate. For example, in Resident Evil 7, one of the problems of Resident Evil 7 was that the time of the gameplay was short. And you may say, hey man, it had at least 4 hours, or more than I think 5 or 6 hours of gameplay. So that's not short. That's not short. Yes, that may be not so short, but for the famous games that are the, how should I say, they are the big games, big giant games of their genre. For example, in horror genre, Resident Evil is a very big game. It's a very famous game. So they need to have more time of the gameplay according to their popularity and according to their genre. So that's so obvious. I don't wanna. That's why I didn't say about that. And there may be some other tips that have been so obvious, so I didn't tell you about them. You need to know them. And yes, these were all tips I wanted to tell you about the horror games and how to make a horror game. So I hope that it has helped you. And yeah, of course, I think I remember now, I told you I will introduce you some engines for a game. From about the engines, you can use Unreal Engine or you can use Unity for making horror games, though these two engines are free and easier to use. And of course, if you use them, if you wanna, for example, if you wanna make a 3D horror game, you better use Unreal Engine 4. And if you wanna make a 2D horror game, you better use Unity. But important tip about this is that many studios or maybe game makers don't pay attention at, is that you must optimize your game. Look, if you make a game, especially with Unreal Engine, if you are making a game with Unreal Engine, you must consider this, that you need to optimize your game so the game will be run very fast and fluent on different systems. That's it. So pay attention at that. There is some some choices and some selections. When you want to export your project in Unreal Engine, you can set it on low-end systems so all the systems can play your game. That's really better. And yeah, that's it. The big problem that many game makers and studios don't pay attention at is that when they make a game with Unreal Engine, they don't pay attention enough at this point. And yes, these were the engines, about the engines, and I don't remember anything else that I wanted to tell you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped you, and thanks anyone for watching. If you have any other idea, if you want more trainings and more tips, you just enough to tell me in comments. And yeah, I will record the videos for you. So follow me on Instagram, Haramax, or on Facebook. I'm on Facebook with this name too, Haramax. Hope to see you on the next videos. I'm Haramax, stuck with Haramax. Goodbye.